Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Mari. I'm one of the librarians at Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine, and I'm here today with another picture book biography for Women's History Month. Today we'll be reading Irena's Jar of Secrets about Irena Sendler, who helped children escape during the Holocaust. This book is written by Marcia Vaughan and illustrated by Ron Mazellan, and it is published by Lee and Low Books. Irena's Jar of Secrets. On a cold February day in 1910, a baby girl was born to a Catholic family in a small town near Warsaw, Poland. Her parents named their daughter Irena and raised her to respect all people, regardless of religion or race. When Irena was 7 years old, a typhus epidemic broke out in Warsaw. Irena's father was the only doctor in the area who would treat poor Jewish patients, but soon he too came down with the disease. As he lay dying, he held his daughter's hand and told her that if she ever saw someone drowning, she must jump in and try to save that person, even if she could not swim. Irena never forgot her father's words and his dedication to helping those in need. In 1939, Adolf Hitler's German army invaded Poland. This was the start of World War II. Hitler, the leader of the Nazi Party, intended to control all of Europe under German rule and eliminate the races, minorities, and other groups that he believed were inferior to the Germans. At the top of Hitler's list were the Jews, whom he saw as enemies of Germany and partly to blame for the country's defeat in World War I. More than 400,000 Jews lived in Warsaw. Late in 1940, German soldiers forced these Jews into the Warsaw Ghetto, a neighborhood of run-down apartment buildings that was sealed off by a high brick wall. Trapped inside, the people who awaited their fate at the hands of those who had imprisoned them. Irena, now a social worker, remembered her father's words from many years ago. The Jewish people are drowning, she thought, and she knew in her heart that she had to help them. One day, Irena approached the ghetto entrance. "Halt!" snapped the guard, raising his rifle. "No one is allowed in or out of the ghetto." Irena, wearing the uniform of a nurse, held out papers from the Epidemic Control Department. "I have permission to enter to investigate an outbreak of typhus," she said. Entering the ghetto was like entering a nightmare. The people inside were struggling to survive. They did not have enough food, water, medicine, or heating fuel. Irena's heart filled with grief. As she walked through the ghetto, hungry children cried out. People lay sick and starving in the streets. Everywhere she turned, she saw death and despair. For the next 2 years, Irena went to the ghetto often. "The food, clothes, and medicine I smuggle in are not enough," she thought bitterly. Everyone was suffering, especially the children, and Irena felt that she must do more. In 1940, the Nazis began sending Jews to Treblinka, an extermination camp about 60 miles from Warsaw. In a race to save as many children as possible, Irena joined Zagata, a secret organization that was helping Jews in Poland survive and find places of safety. Irena became the head of the children's department, and along with other Zagata members, came up with a clever way to smuggle children out of the ghetto. But first, Irena had to convince Jewish parents to let their children be taken away and placed with non-Jewish families or organizations outside of the ghetto. Like most families, the Womans did not want to give up their child. "Is it better for Elka to suffer and starve behind these walls?" Irena said. "And what will happen when the soldiers come to send you to the camp at Treblinka?" "The Nazis say no harm will come to us there," Mr. Woman argued. "That is a lie," Irena told him. "The people who go there are killed." Mrs. Woman's face was wet with tears. "If we give you our daughter, can you promise us she'll live?" "No," Irena said, "but if she stays here, she will surely die." "How will we get back together when the war is over?" Mr. Woman asked. "I'll keep your child's real name and new identity on a secret list so that you can find her," Irena promised the worried parents. Suddenly the door downstairs slammed open and the sound of soldiers' boots pounding the front steps echoed up the stairs. "They're coming," Mrs. Woolman cried. "Take her!" The woman quickly kissed Elska goodbye. The child cried out as Irena took Elka from her mother's arm and hurried away through the hall and down the back stairway. One day, Irena and another member of Zagata had a baby under the floorboards of the ambulance that they were driving in the ghetto. Riding between them was a dog. "I see you come here 2, sometimes 3 times a day," the guard at the gate said to Irena. "I want to see what you've got in there." At that moment, the child whimpered, and Irena's heart froze. If the guard found the baby, they would all be shot. So Irena hit the dog on its paw. Immediately the dog began to bark, drowning out the child's sounds. "Shut that dog up before I put a bullet in it," snapped the guard, and he waved them through the gate. As they drove away, Irena patted the dog's head. The secret passenger had been saved. Other children understood the need for silence, secrecy, and deception. "Rivka," Irena said, "if you can pretend to be very sick, we'll take you out in the ambulance, and we'll hide your little brother Aaron under your stretcher." Then Irena warned Aaron that no matter what happened, he must not make a sound. At the exit gate, a guard threw open the door of the ambulance. This girl does not look very sick to me," he said, jabbing her with her rifle. Instead of crying in pain, Rivka moaned as if she were very ill, but the terror was too much for Aaron. He began to sob. To cover the sound, Rivka began coughing. "Don't get too close unless you want to catch typhus," the ambulance driver warned. "Typhus?" The guard packed away. "Get her out of here at once." On other trips into the ghetto, Irena and her Zagata team carried babies and young children out in baskets, boxes, tool chests, sacks, and suitcases. When garbage was removed from the ghetto, children were sometimes hidden on the truck under piles of trash. Escapes with older children were made through the sewers or old courthouse, or by bribing the guards to let them escape. Once the children were out of the ghetto, they were given new identity papers and taken to live in orphanages, convents, or non-Jewish foster homes. It was not easy to find families who were willing to pretend that a Jewish child was one of their own, yet people did come forward ready to help save the lives of the innocent children. As she had promised, Irena kept lists of the children's real and false identities so they could be reunited with their families after the war. She placed the lists in jars, which were buried under an apple tree in a friend's garden. As more children were rescued, Irena dug up the jars, added their names to the list, and buried the jars again. In October 1943, Irena was betrayed to the Germans. They were told that she was smuggling children out of the ghetto. Irena was arrested by the Gestapo, the German secret police, and taken to Pauwijk prison. One day a Gestapo officer entered Irena's cell. "You tell us the whereabouts of every child you helped escape, and the names of your collaborators," he demanded, "or you will die." If Irena told the Germans the location of the buried jars, she knew that the children, the people who sheltered them, and those who assisted her would all be killed. Over the next 3 months, the police beat her and tortured her, but Irena kept her silence. And so, she was sentenced to death. As Irena awaited execution, she felt strangely at peace. Although she would die, she knew many others would live. The day after Irena was to be killed, posters hung all over Warsaw that listed Irena Sendler among the people who had been shot by a firing squad. The Gestapo did not know that at the last moment, members of Zagata had paid a bribe. Instead of being shot, Irena was secretly been set free. When the Gestapo later learned of the deception, they sent search parties to look for Irena. But like the children that she had helped rescue, Irena went into hiding. Using a new identity, she continued to work with the Zagata from her hiding places, and the Gestapo never found her. After World War II ended in 1945, Irena returned once again to the apple tree. She dug down through the dirt and rocks in the garden and uncovered the jars and their precious contents. Irena counted the name. On her list were about 2,500 Jewish children who had been rescued. Irena gave the list to the Jewish National Committee, which found that most of the children had survived the war. But Irena's hopes of reuniting them with their families faded as she learned that nearly all the parents had died in extermination camps. Using the information on Irena's list, the committee found living relatives for some of the children. Other children stayed with their non-Jewish families, and some children were sent to live in other countries. Irena Sendler never thought of herself as a hero. She only did what she thought that she must, and wished that she could have done more. Every child saved with my help and the help of all the wonderful secret messengers, who today are no longer living, is the justification of my existence on this earth and not a title to a glory. Irena Sendler, from a letter to a Polish Senate, 2007. Here's a picture of Irena Sendler, and here's Irena. There's also a glossary and pronunciation guide and the sources used to create this book. I hope you enjoyed hearing about Irena Sendler. There were many people who tried to stop the horrible things that were going on in World War II, including Irena Sendler, including the Zagata, and including many other people, both Jewish and not Jewish. Thank you for listening. My name is Sarah Mari. I'm one of the librarians at Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.